welcome to day 4 of the 30-day coding challenge. And today we're going to get right to it. We are going to cover mathematical modeling, global versus local variables, and filling with color. So if you're with us for day 3, you want to get that code back. I'm going to delete this out, put it in. This is where we left off, and when you run it, you get just a basic star. Now I am going to pause, change my screen, and get set up, try to get this code from yesterday up and going. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to do a little modeling. Now what we're going to try to model, I decided, was just the United States flag and the stars. So if you think about this is what I thought of when I thought of the 5-point star. It could be a different flag, it doesn't matter. But this one has some nice strips. So if I come back to the code, let's get rid of this comment that says call. That was just to help you yesterday. One thing we're going to want to do is probably move our character over. So I'm going to do T for turtle dot set position. I'm going to set the position to -100, 0. So what that's going to do is slide the turtle over to the left. Notice that if you were to run that though, right, and it draws a line over as it gets over to that setup, which we don't want. So the first thing we'd probably have to do then is pull the pen up. So T dot pen up is a command that's recognized in Turtle. So you can pick the pen up and put the pen up, put the pen down, similar to the way you can in Scratch, if you've used that. Now, if you run this, notice nothing draws, right? Because the pen is up. One thing that could be really useful is right within your definition of the 5-point star, put in there T dot pen up. Now, if you're finding this tricky, and then at the end of it, make sure it's in line, just one indent over, T dot pen. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. This is P dot pen down, right? Or no. Yeah, pen down first. Sorry, my brain got a little scrambled there. Pen up. If you don't know exactly what's going on, this is kind of a progression, so you can go back in the videos and watch 1, 2, and 3. And they're only 5 minutes each, so you can get to this point pretty easy, I think, and understand what's happening. So now if I run this, it makes the, as it executes and calls up that function for 5-star, right now it originally puts the pen down, and then once it's done, it picks the pen up. And that'll alleviate some of the code for later. So how can we make this draw a strip of, let's say, 6 stars, like was in the flag? Well, what you could do is you could say, we want to bump that position over. So I'd say T dot set position to, maybe we bump it over by 50. I don't know, -50, 0, and then we would draw 5-star again. And you'd really just do this 3 times. And you notice that, or 6 times, I mean. Notice how this is that same kind of pattern recognition setup where now I'd be like, okay, well, I can copy and paste that, right? And I would now have 3. So if you'd run this, you'd have 3 in a row. See if you can fix that up or change that out to 6. Okay, did you come up with something like this? Well, maybe you've realized that this is a lot of code, right? And it's kind of clunky. It's not very efficient. But there is a pattern, right? The x's are just incrementing up by 50 every time. We're just bumping the star over by 50 pixels in the x direction. So what we could do is use our pattern recognition sense. So we've done this for a few times. So for item, I'm sorry, you can delete everything out except for the first position and the star call. So for item in range, we did that 6 times. We want to increment this up. I'm going to tab this over so it's inside the loop. Now notice if I ran that, the problem is this position just stays the same, right? So we would probably somewhere up here need to initiate. I'm going to do x underscore position for a variable of the position because we will actually do the y position here in a second as well. So x position, let's say, starts at -100, right? And then I can just delete this -100 out to x position. And now if I do that, it would still stay static at -100, but because we have the variable, we can now say x position goes up by plus equals, increments up by 50, which is what we did. So if I run this, notice that the code does the exact same thing. Now we're going to need to space that out and some stuff. I'm going to pause and let you get caught up if you're behind on that at all. Now, I don't know about you, but I thought the stars were a little big, so I changed the size from 50 to 25. to space them out a little bit. You could have done it other ways by changing the position increment as well, but I just changed the size. So now this draws a row 6, right? So I'm actually going to make this call. I'm going to call this a definition, a function. We're going to define this as like something like 6 row. Oops. So I'm going to say 6 row, and taking no parameters for now is fine, and then I'm just going to bump this over. So this definition of 6 row, right, does what we had talked about. I could comment it there. Maybe I'll pause and do that later, but really I just want to make this a definition, and I just tabbed all that in one space. So notice the line here. So then I would just have to call up 6 row, get the same effect. Oh, notice, yeah, so this is where I was going to put this in. So now that it's a definition, it says it's an error because this variable is local, exposition, right? It wants to change exposition, but it doesn't know how to because we declared it out here globally. So the word global refers to a variable's reach, or what it's able to where it's able to be accessed. So something global can be accessed anywhere. Sorry, exposition. Something global could be accessed anywhere, whereas something local could be only accessed within its own framework, in this case, the function. So put in right away this define exposition of variable as a global variable. And now we can call it up. So we are definitely over the 5-minute mark. Let me think about a clean way to finish this up nicely. Okay, so to finish this off in 30 seconds, what you can see is drawn here is 5 rows. Now to do that, I put in this loop, this for loop, to do 5 different rows. So five times I called 6 row. The problem with this is we have to change the y position. So go up underneath your x position and add this variable called y position. After you add that, you have to make sure you also make that global within this function, so global y position. And then instead of just staying at 0 for that y position, we need to actually put the variable in here, y position. And then notice that the x position will keep setting to -100 exactly, but we'll have to change, so because we're over here on the left-hand side as a starter at -100, but the y position will actually need to increment. So this is just going to keep resetting the left side in terms of the x direction at -100, and this is going to actually increment each time the y position down by 50. So I run this, we get this. Now, I know we're over the 5-minute marks. I tried my best, and hopefully you had fun with it. If you're having some issues, please post in the comments below and we'll try to fix it. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and we are going to use the fill and stuff tomorrow. Thanks.